Chapter 5. Shri Sadguru said, "True devotion to her husband alone gives charm and beauty to a virtuous woman graced with high birth. What is the use of other beauty aids like fragrant ungulants, exquisite dresses, and ornaments?" Savitri could see Yama, the god of death, face to face due to her devoted loyalty to her husband. She was able to gain a new lease of life for her husband who was lying dead in the forest due to her chastity. Anasuya, the wife of sage Atri, converted Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva into three children and brought them up due to the power of her loyalty to her husband. Sukanya was serving her husband with great devotion, even though he was aged, short tempered, weak, and ugly at look. Damayanti followed with great reverence her husband Nala, who had lost all his wealth and kingdom and was wandering in the forest. Even when abused in the midst of huge gathering, Sita paid respect to her husband and jumped into the fire. Even when she was pledged in gambling match and was then insulted by wicked players, Panchali respected her husband Dharmaputra. Even when her brother was killed in gambling match, Rukmini, the devoted wife, did not abuse her husband. Padmavathi, who knew the path to be followed by a chaste woman, was paying respects to her husband always. Easily understanding what was in the mind of Jayadeva, she made him happy always, remaining engaged in the service of Sri Krishna. The king Lakshmana Sen, who had become a disciple of Jayadeva, also paid respects to the great poet and his guru. Following the example set by her husband, the queen too respected Padmavathi in the same way. Bound by the affection showered by the royal pair, the Vaishnavite couple led a peaceful life in the palace itself. Once the king went on pilgrimage to holy places, including Shri Vrindavan, taking Jayadeva with him. One day during that time, the queen was standing on the terrace of the palace and was conversing merrily with Padmavathi. In the distance, she saw a chaste woman entering into funeral pyre along with her dead husband in the burial ground. The queen was astonished to see that sight. With little pride, she told in a majestic voice as follows. The queen said, "There is such a courageous Pativrata, woman dedicated to her husband, in this country ruled by our king." Padmavathi replied, "O queen, what is so surprising in that? I wonder how she could keep on living for this long after seeing the death of her husband. She who dies the moment she hears the news of her husband's death alone is a devoted wife of the highest order. She who sees the dead body of her husband, accompanies it to the burial ground, and then enters into the pyre is a second-class chaste woman. She who leads a life at home with complete control of her senses and dejection after death of her husband is a pativrata of the last order. O beautiful queen, you are not aware of the greatness of the chaste woman, and that is why you wondered that way." Sri Sadguru continued, "When the modest woman Padmavati spoke thus, the queen could not fully realize the truth. She planned to trust Padmavati. She prepared a scheme. Accordingly, one day a servant instigated by the queen approached Padmavati and said that her husband has died. Instantaneously, Padmavati fell to the ground and screamed, "Ah, I am also dead." She lost consciousness and died. When the queen saw that her dear friend had died, she was afflicted with agony. At that time, the king returned to the palace along with Jayadeva. Coming to know what has happened, he became terribly sad. He was enraged and drew out his sword to kill the queen. The wise Jayadeva prevented him from doing it. At the entreaty of the king, Jayadeva meditated upon Sri Purushottama. Then he started playing on veena, accompanied by melodious vocal recital of the Gita Govinda. Surprisingly, Padmavati came back to life due to the divine mystic power of the Gita Govinda and prostrated to her husband. All of them rejoiced. All the sins of those who read or listen to this sacred story of the chaste woman of Padmavati get eradicated automatically. Thus ends chapter 5, entitled Padmavati Vaibhavam of Book 5 of Shri Vaishnava Samhita composed by Shri Krishna Premi Swamigal.